I'm Christine, the anxious beginner. And that's Pale, our fearless captain. Together, we've bought a 45-foot sailboat, and we're ready for an adventure. So, as we've talked about in previous episodes, I get pretty anxious. Just anxious about sailing, being on the boat, and doing the tasks. And one of the things that I'd mentioned is doing tasks on my own, even simple tasks, but just repeatedly doing them and showing that I can do them on my own helps to reduce my anxiety. So being as that we're going on a pretty epic adventure pretty soon, I need to do a lot more of that practice. So today I'm just gonna walk you guys through how I raise the anchor by myself. It's not necessarily a how-to video, but it's just the steps of how I do it. I hope you guys like it. The thing that I'm gonna do actually is tie off the dinghy. I'm gonna tie it off in a way that it's tied tight in the beginning, and then once we get going, I can easily loosen it and it's tied on still at the longer point. So once we get moving, I don't have to fiddle with it. What we do is we want to make sure that the motor is tilted up, so then when we are going later, we don't have to figure out how are we going to jump in there when we're under sail. No, just do it now, lift it up, and then we don't have to worry about it. End of the line, and then that is the part that you're going to put on the cleat first, because then later when you let out, it'll come to the end of your line. Then what I do is I just kind of go through this line and make sure it's not all tangled, because you don't want it to get in a knot at the end, right? So just make sure it's not all tangled. And then I put a shorter point on the cleat so that it'll be close while we're doing maneuvers in case we reverse or something. We don't run over our lines and foul our prop, because that would be bad. So just put it on the shorter point and it'll be easy to release later. Alright, so now I just make sure all my instruments are on. They are. And I'm going to start the motor. And then after that, I'm just going to rev the engine so that we'll have more power to raise the anchor. Alright, and now I'm gonna go to the front of the boat and make sure that everything is how it should be. We'll open the locker. Open our sail locker here. Alright, so here is where the chain comes in when I start the windlass. So basically, it all piles here. And if this piles up too much, links can get caught in here, and then the whole thing will jam. And I don't want that to happen, because then you don't know if it was in a heavy wind or something, we might start dragging and we'd have to deal with this before we could put an anchor down or pull it up. First, I'm going to start actually by just knocking over this pile of chain, and then as I feed more in, I'll knock more over. So I'm just going to knock it over, just like that. So you can see now I can build another tower and knock it over. So I always start by looking down here, and then now we can go up top. What I like to do is I kind of hang halfway in here because I'm gonna keep going back in for a little bit. But I also like to hang out and look to see what's coming up in case we pick up something or something strange is happening. I wanna know. So I just push the button to raise it, but I keep looking. If it starts to make a sound that's different, like it's pulling or it's difficult, then I stop and let the boat kind of drift forward and then start again. Oh look, something's coming up. So just like I say, you have to be watching because you don't know what you're going to pull up. Okay, so now I'm gonna go back down and knock that pile over again because it's probably gotten quite high now. See, it's gotten quite high. I probably waited too long. I'm gonna use a glove to knock over the pile. So, knocked over the pile. So we can start to do some more. It's a calm day, so we don't have to really move forward, but if it was really windy, we would want to put it in gear and go forward. You don't want to be pulling on your windlass. You don't want to be moving your boat with that. Okay, and so now you can see that we've gotten to our red markers, and that means that we're at 30 feet. So I know that if I go down and knock over the pile right now, I can pull the rest up and not have to go back down there, which means I can climb out, which will make it faster for me to get back to the helm before we drift into something, which might be doing. Okay, so I rushed back here to the helm to make sure we didn't drift into anything, but the wind is doing something squirrely, so we've just turned around opposite to the other boats. Not drifting into anything. So that's a perfect day for me to do this. Just go straight into forward. Are they putting like something in the water?
Yeah.
And then you watch for traffic. It looks like that boat is putting something in the water. So not running into them is probably a good idea. So that's it. I pulled the anchor up and got us moving all on my own. Help of a cameraman. If you liked this video, hit the thumbs up. And if you want to join us on the next adventure, hit subscribe.